Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know podcast network presents Balls Brew.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Balls and Brew, the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. I am your affable host. My name is Rod Morgan. I could not do this alone. I absolutely could not do this alone, frankly. This man that I'm about to introduce right now does the lion's share of the work, the heavy lifting, if you will, the grunt work in the trenches, the stuff you don't see. He doesn't get the glory laughs that I do, but frankly, we'd be nothing without Jimmy Jamriska. Jimmy, hello.
I like your intro for what I do a lot better than Chris's on other podcasts that we've had. Not that I'm still bitter, but it is week 10, and I'm very excited for it to be over because the Bears already are losing.
Yes, from a producer guy, as this man down in North Carolina put it on another podcast on this podcasting network. He's our old man. Perhaps he just forgot all of the things that you do for us here on the network. It's Chris King.
What is up, fellas? Jimmy's kind of bipolar with me sometimes. He loves me one week, hates me the next. I'm willing to go with it.
Almost as if he knows you. I can back that up, having known you for quite as long as I have, that's absolutely a true thing that comes when you know one Chris King. And knowing football is what we need out of the last member of this quadrant. Is that even a thing? I know a quadrant's a thing, but I don't think four people hanging out is ever referred to as a quadrant. But we're starting it now, thanks to the football handicapper, our guy, Josh Williams. Hello.
What's up, boys? Went 2-1 last week. Had two relatively easy covers. Baltimore was one of them, and Cincinnati was one of them. The one game I lost was the Colts, and evidently I know nothing about your team this year, guys. So I'm 0-2 when having Colts involved in my picks. So maybe take a rest on the Colts here for me.
You know who else knows absolutely nothing about the Colts? One, Jim Irsay. But that's a story for another time. We are going to get to the NFL here in a little bit, but we call this podcast Balls and Brew because we talk about sports that involve balls. And there are a few other headlines and a few of those other sports. We're going to start with one that we almost never touch on this podcast, but we have a lot of Cub fans here, and almost out of nowhere, especially to me, someone who doesn't follow baseball, there was a new hiring on the north side. We will start with our producer, Jimmy Jamriska. Jimmy, tell us even what I'm talking about here.
Out of nowhere, Cubs hired Craig Counsell from Milwaukee, and he has gone down in the past couple of years as one of the best managers in the game. It's a division rival, and it's a lot of money, $8 million a year. And David Ross, by the way, was still the manager when they were negotiating with Mr. Counsell, and then they fired him pretty much immediately. David Ross came out earlier this week and said, apparently I didn't win enough, and that's all I'm going to say. So yeah, a huge move for your penny pinching owners there, Rod. Cubs are here to play. Let's see what else they do though this postseason.
Listen, I'm not going to piss in everybody's sandbox quite yet. Let's go over to another man who I know is a quite optimistic Cub fan, and that is Josh Williams. Mr. Williams, what were your thoughts when the Northsiders got themselves a new manager?
I mean, I love Rossi as what he did for the team, not only as a manager but as a player, more so as a player. But anytime you have a chance to get a top 3 manager in the game, I think you got to go for it. It kind of points the direction that they are going for it. And there is some rumors out there that, yes, they could be in the running to get Mr. Shohei Ohtani in the future. So let's go Cubs, let's go.
All right, let's go to the man in black for some reason on this podcast. Again, we are not a video feed here, but let's go to the man in black. But I have a feeling he's not going to be a black parade raining all over this. He's probably pretty excited as well. Chris, your thoughts?
You're telling me that my favorite team gets a manager that can win this division with half the payroll that the Cubs normally put out? I am all for it, all right? The Brewers don't spend much more than $50 million a year. He's won 700 games in 9 years, 3 division titles. That's pretty darn good and much better than what we've had the last 7 years. So I am all for it. I think this is a good move. I do I do not like how Craig Counsell is getting treated by the fans in Milwaukee, though. I know this is going to a division rival, but they have gone as far as to vandalize the Little League park that has his name on it up in his hometown. It's a little bit ridiculous what these fans are doing to him.
Fanatics acting fanatical. We see more and more instances of it in professional sports these days. I don't like it. It's not something that I want to push, even though I am prone to a hot take and getting a little fiery myself here. Let's all comport ourselves better than that. But my thoughts were exactly this. So Tom Ricketts can't pay for players, but he's got no problem forking out the biggest contract ever to a manager in the history of baseball, and it's kind of nice that Tom Ricketts can all of a sudden shed his cheap label by signing somebody to a $40 million contract and not a huge player contract. Nice work by old Tom Ricketts there, man. He's able to pull the wool over Cub fans' eyes with his managerial moves, okay? The move to Rossi in the last place was to pull the wool over everybody's eyes, right? He's like, hey, Rossi's coming in here with the shiny World Series ring. Remember that? And then the Cubs had no intention of ever winning, and Ross was just a little bit of Band-Aid. He was a little bit of cotton candy, right? You know, when you're about to have a terrible kid's birthday party, the clown's canceled on you, all the kids aren't going to show up, you know it's going to be a complete failure. At the last minute, you bring in the cotton candy and you just pump the kids full of sugar. That's essentially what Tom Ricketts has done here. He has pumped a bunch of cotton candy into this Cubs team, and the only question I have is he actually prepared to put a team on the field that wants to win? And I would say his track record says no, because the majority of the years Tom Ricketts has been the owner of the Cubs, he's not actually interested in winning.
You know, we may have to get our boy Evan back here, the Hall of Famer Evan, right back onto this pod to talk about this, because a couple years ago he brought up the fact that there was a lot of real estate development that Ricketts had all this money pouring into around Wrigleyville and the area. Maybe those investments have started to pay off a little bit. He has a little bit more cash flow. Maybe this is him stepping into that right direction, Rod, where he's going to go out and actually spend a little bit of that cash.
You guys listen, you guys go ahead. You guys go ahead and walk and step off the pier, right? Get ready to jump right in there. But just remember, you're jumping into water that was put there by Tom Ricketts. I'm going to go ahead and let Tom Ricketts' past actions show me who he is. But Jimmy, I know you like to get out over your skis. You like to always be optimistic for your Cubs. So I'm happy for you, buddy. I am. That's what I mean. I let all of you guys go before I pissed in the sandbox.
I'm shocking that you're being disingenuous towards Tom Ricketts. Who knew that was going to be your take? No one even took the action on that. Listen, this is step one. If at the end of this offseason he hasn't signed anybody, I'm right back with you, because that's what it will be. They are going to try to sign players. They're going to try to sign a lot of players. They've got some big positions that need to be filled. It's not going to be Ohtani. If it's Ohtani, that would be ridiculous, but it's not going to be Ohtani. We need to get some solid players in here and go win the division. Let's do this. So let's just hold off on the, hey, it's going to be terrific, or hey, it's just pulling the wool over eyes again. Let's just wait till the end of the offseason here, boys.
But Jimmy, you listen to podcasts, right? You understand that there's no room for the middle ground here when we're talking pods, right? It's either an emergency pod one way or an emergency pod the other way. Come on, you know what I'm saying? What are you trying to do here?
It's a terrific hiring, and that's the thing. That's why we're even talking about it. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
All right. No, you're right. We bring up baseball very rarely, so it has to be something to get me a little bit fired up to even be willing to go back to the old rawhide there. So we will move on from that. But the Cubs got themselves a manager who they hope will make decisions that will lead them to winning. The Michigan football team has a coach who has made some decisions that maybe help them win, but maybe are going to get them into some hot water. I'm going to throw it over to our football expert here and clean it up for us a little bit. I'm to understand, Mr. Williams, that Harbaugh is in trouble basically for stealing signs, but also scouting, which you're not allowed to do in college football?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you guys handle the cheating stuff. I'm going to give a solution to it, though. Okay, so let's go back to baseball. How did Theo Epstein clean up the Astros cheating scandal? He made the pitch tracks on the catcher on the knee, and then the pitcher gets the verification on the glove. What does the NFL do? The NFL has the microphone in the quarterback's helmet. We don't need 3 backup quarterbacks on the sidelines in bright colors, rubbing their stomach, patting their head for signals to get into these quarterbacks. Just put the microphone into the chip into the helmet, and all this is done. There's no more stealing signs. Let's just go. It's common sense, man. Let's go. Everybody, if there's a chance to cheat, somebody's going to cheat, and so let's just get rid of it. You see how much baseball improved after that cheating scandal from the Astros last year, and they can do the same thing for college football.
All right, I'm glad that Mr. Williams did that here, because what I've heard so much with this situation is that everybody wants to talk about a number of things, but very rarely people actually talk about the issue at hand here. So, Chris, clear it up for everybody. What exactly are we talking about? What is Jim Harbaugh being accused of doing?
So in 1994, the NCAA passed a bunch of rules, and one of those rules was that you could not do in-person advanced scouting or filming of other teams that you play in that same season. So if Michigan is playing Ohio State like they do every year, Michigan can't send scouts to an Ohio State game that same year. Vice versa, Ohio State can't send scouts to a Michigan game. What was going on with this analyst, Connor Stallions, is
Hall of Fame name, by the way. Hall of Fame name, Connor Stallions, to be involved in this.
He was purchasing tickets to multiple games, multiple venues of other Big Ten teams and teams that Michigan was playing this year, which is illegal. And apparently also being able to get into the sidelines of those opposing teams sometimes as well. So that's the crux of this issue. What Williams said it perfectly. That's the way to fix the issue. Put the microphone, put the earpiece in the quarterback.
Great. He just told us all that. What do we do about the cheating issue with Harbaugh right now and the rules that are on hand right now?
I don't think you do anything. I don't see it as that big of a deal. Stallions is already out, all right? You can maybe do something little, but these signs are on TV every single week.
Okay, all right. Let's hold off on the whataboutism just yet. Let's go over to Jimmy here. Jimmy, what do we do with Jim Harbaugh right now? Because it seems pretty clear that we have a lot of evidence that he at least broke the rule of advanced scouting. So what do we do here?
You know what you do? You suspend him for the rest of the season. The one guy's out already. The peon who's taken the fall, like seriously? Oh yeah, Jim Harbaugh had no idea this was going. Of course he did. They all do it now. If they all do it, they all get caught. Throw him out. Jim Harbaugh, he was suspended already. Let's suspend him again. Yes, I worked at Ohio State. Calm down, everybody. I don't really care that much. He doesn't care about the rules. It's obvious he doesn't care. And people are upset about it in Michigan because they're actually good this year. Why are they good this year? I don't know. Maybe they're stealing signs from everybody. There's no difference between this and what the Astros did. Everyone on that Astros team is scum. Everyone on that knew about this in Michigan, obviously not the players and stuff like that, but the coaches and including Harbaugh is scum. That's ridiculous. That being said, I'll take him as the Bears coach next year.
He's upset until he starts coaching the Bears. It's a ridiculous take. We're talking about college football.
Why is it a ridiculous take? Wait a minute. Why is it a ridiculous
take? How's that ridiculous? Just because you're wrong? He cheated. That's the rules. He's already been suspended once. If he wasn't suspended before, you suspend him now. Okay, but he's already been suspended once for cheating or whatever it was. All right?
So you want to suspend him right now before anything's actually been proven? So we are punishing.
They fired the guy.
He did not get fired. He resigned on his own.
Shit. Oh, come on. He resigned on his own because of the goodness of his heart. No, he got told, you want to get fired or you want to resign. That is what happened.
It is a ridiculous thing that this has happened. Like I don't necessarily condone it, but I think it's a ridiculous thing that has overtaken all of the nation's college football media. I'm sorry, but Michigan did not need to steal signs to beat Indiana. Okay,
it's not the issue. Chris, you're the oldest one on this podcast. You have been around longer than all the rest of us. You have seen that common sense does not matter when it comes to the NCAA and penalties for rule infractions, and it also absolutely matters who does the rule infractions, and their past resume matters. All of that works against Jim Harbaugh here, okay? Jim Harbaugh likes doing nothing more than putting his finger in the eye of authority, and it's coming back to bite him now. Now, Chris and Williams, all the different sorted college football arguments you want to have, they're all at play here. We don't have the time to get into all of them. It seems as if private investigators who have a relationship with Ryan Day might have been the ones who cracked the case. That's what I mean. College football is a soap opera. It's dirty. They're all dirty. Chris, you're right. But that's not what we're talking about here. I do not want to engage in whataboutism, and Jim Harbaugh gets off the hook just because everybody else cheats and they're good this year, and it's not right to suspend him right now. Bullshit. I'm with Jimmy. If he broke this rule, advanced scouting, which it's pretty damn clear they at least broke that, something needs to happen.
Here's the other thing that's going on too, is there is a difference between what the Big Ten wants to do and then what the NCAA is doing. What the Big Ten's rules say, that the coach is not responsible for everything that happens underneath him, like the NCAA does. The Big Ten says the institution is responsible for that, not the coach, where the NCAA holds the coach accountable. So if you're waiting for the NCAA to do something, that's not going to happen this year. If you're wanting the Big Ten to do something, you're going to see the lawyers get in and do injunction after injunction, but so nothing will get done this year anyway.
Well,
So don't do anything because lawyers get involved. That's just
like
a
Pat
garbage argument
McAfee
as well.
said, in 2030, after Michigan wins the championship this year and it gets vacated, that'll be just fantastic then, won't it, Chris? Because he cheated. Bottom line.
Do we care about the vacated wins anywhere ever? I mean, do we care that USC and Reggie Bush had his Heisman and
we don't.
their wins vacated? We do not care. This does not affect us. It's a ridiculous thing. It's just like I'm not going to even go that way. I mean, yes, it's a rule. I think it's a dumb rule, but it's still a rule. It's still a rule.
Listen, I love it. Jimmy, don't you love how sometimes if we let Chris keep talking that he would basically just unravel his own arguments? Have you ever noticed that he'll do that? Sometimes if we just let him keep going, he'll start to unravel his own arguments.
It's a rule, but it's a bad rule, but it's a rule. Yeah, I know it's a rule.
If you don't want people to steal your signs, do something different. Make it harder for them to steal their signs. Everybody tries to read the other team's signs. It happens all the time. And
but not everybody is as flagrant as to have a guy go to 50 different away games and then have him getting paid off of the university. I mean, that's just, that's there. It's listen, we're moving on. Williams, we're going to close the loop here. Okay. Let's say something does happen to Harbaugh. How much effect on the field does he have to people in your line of hobbying, let's say? All right. Harbaugh's not on the field. Does Michigan lose to Ohio State? Is the number switch? Are they not going to make the playoffs? What happened?
Yeah, that's the problem here, is that the NCAA just drags its feet way too much on these decisions. And so if anything is going to come down, it's going to be like 3 years from now, unless the Big Ten steps in. I mean, but I just don't see, there's too much money at stake for them to go to the college football playoff. So, yeah, if somehow he's not there for Ohio State, the line probably does go down. But yeah, Michigan has played nobody this year. I'm not saying they're not good, but they really only played 2 games this year, and that's at Penn State and versus Ohio State. So if they get through those 2, they'll be favored by, I'm not kidding, probably over 4 touchdowns by whoever comes out of the Big Ten West. So, yeah, the 2 main games are Penn State and Ohio State.
If you're gonna do anything, just find him, hit him in the pocketbook. Don't hurt the kids. All right, these kids aren't out there doing this cheating. This is definitely a coaching issue and a staff issue. I mean, I don't know why you hire a guy to be an analyst straight out of the Navy. He was a captain in the Marine Corps. He was rebuilding vacuum cleaners last year. So like, I don't understand that hire in the first place. But don't hurt the kids. All right. If you want to hurt Harbaugh, that's fine. Hit him in the pocketbook. Hit the university in the pocketbook.
And just to be clear here, all right, this episode's going to come out a couple of days before Veterans Day weekend. We are in no way, shape, or form anti-veteran here. Chris is not saying that people who serve don't deserve to be hired. That's not what he's saying. I don't want anybody to twist his words around and say that. I have one last quick college football shout out here before we move on to our normal business and the NFL. Shout out to Dabo Swinney. All right. I don't find myself being a huge fan of that guy before. Not real excited that they beat my Irish, but I heard his response to a crazy college football fan on his radio call-in show, and I was like, absolutely kudos, man. Everything he said was absolutely spot on, and for a coach to have the cojones to just say it to somebody in today's day and age and to have it be out there and for people to be able to replay, I love it. If you haven't heard Dabo Sweeney going after Leroy, I believe his name was, go ahead and find that somewhere on YouTube because it is well worth your time. We had a pretty cool rags to riches story in the NFL last week. Jimmy Jamriska has it for us in his heel and face of the week. We will start with the good, and that is the face.
Josh Dobbs is my quarterback. I will tell you that right now. He's your quarterback. He's really been everybody's quarterback. What a terrific year he's had. Now, like, the Cardinals were not very good this year, right? But Dobbs played well, and he was a serviceable starting quarterback. This is, of course, after the Browns gave him away to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals decided to start him after about 2 weeks on the team. And then the Cardinals said, "Well, no, you're a little too good. We don't want you to be that good. So we're just gonna release you." Oh wait, or trade him. Sorry, whatever it was. The Vikings then pick him up, and 2 days later, he doesn't know anyone's names. He doesn't know half the plays. The coach has to kind of tell him what's going on. He comes in and he wins the game for the Vikings. Josh Dobbs is a man. He's a terrific last-minute replacement quarterback. If you need him, he's there for you. The man is intelligent, and he obviously knows how to play quarterback better than about 20 people in the NFL. So let's go Josh Dobbs, face of the week.
Absolutely. I was excited to see that you had Josh Dobbs as the face of the week. I was definitely going to shout him out. Had you not, I bet all of us were going to try to shout him out if you didn't. You don't get cool stories like that in the NFL too often. And you know what it made me think of, Jimmy Jam? It made me think of all those great front yard football games at the Morgan household. And every once in a while, right, I would, because it was my house, I would take over and say I would be quarterback for both teams. And it kind of like Josh Dobbs almost is like that, right? Like just leave him on the field and quarterback for either team. It doesn't matter.
Well, you know, when you only have 7 people, you have to have an all-time QB. So that's fine. No question about that. And yeah, he came in and it legitimately was backyard football. Okay, this guy's going to try to get open there, and it's a run. Hand him guy to number 21 on the left there. His name's Alexander. Good kid. It's just fun times.
Williams, let me go to you on this real quick, all right? Because you're a handicapper, right? You look at past performances, right? You're always telling us about this game versus the spread and this time at this stadium and this time with this referee. What is a performance like this, right? A guy who has literally no practice time whatsoever, then comes in and wins. Is that like, do you look at this as an anomaly, or now moving forward, do you always say to yourself, you got to keep that nugget in the back of your mind, man? Josh Dobbs is the man. How does something like this work for a handicapper?
First of all, it was an awesome story. I mean, he's an aerospace engineer, so he's literally a rocket scientist. And Kevin O'Connell sent the plays in for him to call the plays for the rest of the offensive players. But then after Dobbs called the plays, Kevin O'Connell had to tell him what the plays actually were. Like he didn't know what they were. And so, and it's ironic that this happened against the Falcons because all year, Arthur Smith, who I thought last year was going to be a decent coach, he's not. He's an absolute donkey. And he's been saying all year, it takes time. It takes time for these quarterbacks to know the system. It takes time. Josh Dobbs just put it right in your face. Arthur Smith, get out of here. The Falcons need to switch coaches. I told them everybody to switch for them to switch quarterbacks a long time ago. They finally did that. Now they need to switch coaches because he's atrocious. But Josh Dobbs, man, what a fantastic story. What a game that was by him. Man, just a lot of good vibes for the Vikings going forward.
To be
Chris,
fair to Arthur Smith, not every quarterback is an actual rocket scientist and can pick up things that quick. I definitely don't think Desmond Ridder was a rocket scientist. I think that's a rare thing. I think it benefits somebody like Dobbs, who's been on 5 teams since week 15 of last year, I think.
Yeah, he's been traveled around, and I'm glad you jumped in there, Chris. I was going to let you close the loop there. I wanted to make sure you gave Josh Dobbs some flowers too. That kind of performance deserved it. Jimmy, finish up your little gimmick for us and tell us about the opposite side. I have a feeling it's somebody we heard a mention of last week, right? Kind of like a little nugget for future episodes.
You know, it's tough right now to be a Giants fan. Your starting quarterback is not very good. Your backup quarterback, Tommy DeVito, who is our heel of the week. 174 yards passing, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in 2 games. Of course, the first game he had -1 yards passing. Um, it's so odd to me that you have someone like a Josh Dobbs who can just go in and do this. And then you have people that you don't know how they're in the NFL right now. Um, if he was a third string coming up, that's one thing. He's their second option, and it's not very good right now. I don't know what's going on. They probably should have signed Carson Wentz. Oh wait, too late. He already got signed.
So, Chris, do you think moving forward we're going to see NFL teams adjust to this any, right? Do you think we're going to see teams say to themselves, you know what, we can't continue to do this? Sure, quarterback salary is going to keep going up. I'm not advocating that they're going to pay starting quarterbacks less, but are they going to say to themselves, we have to figure out a way to invest more in backup quarterback? Because look at the Colts, right? We're not winning a lot of games, but Gardner Minshew is quite serviceable, and thank goodness, or else our season would be over.
Yeah, it seems to go in flows. Back in the 90s, there was a lot of good backup quarterbacks. You knew if Joe Montana was going to go down, you had Steve Young, or then at Kansas City, you had Steve DeBerg backing them up. You had good quality backups. Harbaugh was a good quality backup for a little while. Um, I don't, and that's the thing. Tommy or Tony or Danny, they all throw just as badly. Whoever they want to throw out there, it's they took a guy that wasn't even proven yet in Danny Dimes and gave him a bag, and now you see exactly where they're at. I mean, we talk about some bad offenses on this show, and we've talked about the Patriots, the Panthers, um, some bad offenses in this league. None of them can even shake a stick at what the Giants are doing on offense this year. I still don't know how they've won 2 games when they've only scored 101 points so far this season. All right, that is 9 games, people. That is barely over 10 points a game that they average. It's it's a pretty pitiful offense, and it hasn't always been their backup out there.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can all marvel at. I appreciate you bringing that up there, Chris. And now that you've sounded smart talking about that point, let's have you talk about something you're not nearly as smart about, something Chris doesn't know.
Yeah. You guys all know I don't know a lot of things, but it's became apparent this week, even more so, that the NFL knows about as little as I do, because I still don't know what can really constitute a roughing the passer. All right. And it's gotten so bad, the NFL even tried to tweet it out to the general public today to show us what roughing the passers. I'm sorry, but like at least half of those videos that they showed us did not look anything close to roughing the passer. All right. Sometimes you see a guy put a shoulder directly into a dude in the midsection while he's tucking the ball and tackling him, and then get flagged for a pass or a roughing the passer. It's beyond ridiculous. I don't think it matters who's out there. It's all at the whims as of the refs on the field. Uh, we saw Mac Jones get tackled last week and get called, and then a roughing the passer get called, and that was by far the worst example of a roughing the passer I've ever seen. And I don't even like the Patriots.
Williams, you're a big Alabama drill guy. You're a big the NFL's gotten way too soft. I know you want to weigh in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this is coming from above, and they they even set on a statement where like, yeah, the defensive tackles, they have to learn how to gator roll off the quarterback, and they're getting super technical with it. But it's all about trying to protect these quarterbacks. We just said it in our past segment there about how terrible these backup quarterbacks are. I get it. There's frustration on both sides, so I get it, man. It's frustrating out there for these defensive tackles. I don't know what they're supposed to do, man.
Jimmy, let me go to you real quick for on based off of what Williams is saying there, right? I mean, are you willing to begrudgingly accept this if it means that we're going to have better quarterback play?
I think we just need a better way to, in the moment, reverse a call if that needs to be done. They can easily do that. Have someone up top, look at it twice before the ball is snapped, make your call. That's fine. It's not an instant replay, anything like that. It doesn't take 5 minutes. It should be 30 seconds to a minute. Can easily see. And that video that came out, I know McAfee and the boys made fun of it because it's funny, that the NFL doesn't even know how to show the correct plays. The one play where it's like, hey, if you hit him below the knee, the play wasn't below the knee, or it's even started at like the angle below the knee, but it didn't hit. It was just all over the place. So no, I'm not willing to accept a mediocre ruling. We talked about rule. I got heated about rules earlier. I like rules. Okay, give me the rule, but you need to make sure to show me what it is. And if you can't enforce it, maybe we don't make that a rule or change the rule.
And that becomes an interesting thing here. I don't want to belabor this too long. We got a couple more things to hit here as we move along. But when you start to try to really define something, right? When you lay down a lot of guidelines for you can do this, you can't do that, you can do this, you can't do that, then it starts to become too rigid and you almost create a situation that wasn't there. So Jimmy, I echo your thoughts of let's have a way to look back at it, right? It's going to be tough in the moment. And it's going to be tough to pin down standards, but that second, third look, you're just going to be able to see there, okay, yeah, that's egregious. That was too much. He had time to stop. He went low. He went high, all the above. So I think it's just an evolvement of the replay system, right? Let's not have it take as long as it does, because none of us want these big time stoppages where the dude's got to get under the cloak and all of that business. Just have a guy somewhere. He makes the call. We got a quick earpiece. Let's move along. I think that's an absolute good thought. And speaking of move along, I will bring up the Colts check-in. We will not be doing a Bears check-in this week because, again, they are playing on Thursday Night Football, and it makes no sense to do a Bears check-in because by the time this comes out, they will already have played their Week 10 game. But let me just tell you, Tyson Bagent looks, the secret Bagent man looks just about like he has in previous weeks. So, Bear fans, fun for you. Colts fans, go ahead, Jimmy. No, go ahead. You're right. You should be able to say something in the Bears.
Hey, yeah. You mentioned my name. I want to be able to talk. Thank you. He looks better than the #1 overall draft pick. That's all I'm saying right now. And all joking aside, he does tonight. He looks a lot better.
That's true. I haven't been watching it that closely because it is the NBA season, and my focus tends to stray away a little bit once the NBA season starts out. But Chris, our Colts season is not over, man. I mean, these Colts, they just keep winning games. We just keep hanging around, and we absolutely should wipe the floor with the Patriots in Germany, right? There's nothing weird at all about that game. It's not a longtime rival of ours, and we're not playing in another country or anything.
I am worried, Rod, that we may be jinxed. I don't know if you guys saw the video of the post game Colts locker room.
Oh yeah.
And what Rod's boy Ursay was doing in that locker room. He busted out a dance that only Jim Irsay's old ass could do. I am worried that is going to jinx us in Germany, especially against the Patriots. It makes me nervous, but I got to tell you, this is an exciting team to watch, Rod. It really is. We are in every game this year, win or lose. We never really feel like we're out of it. It's been a real fun season.
It certainly has. And my thing that I don't think enough people are talking about will be very short and sweet and to the point. All right. And Chris mentioned it right there. Exciting. Nobody really knows what to expect. That's what the final playoff spot in the NFC is. Maybe not exciting, but no one knows what to expect. Literally almost every team in the NFC still has an outside shot at somehow qualifying for the last spot in the NFC. It's literally one of those deals where it's like, do you want the playoff spot? Do you want the playoff spot? Do you want it? And a whole bunch of teams are just passing it back and forth. You could give me a list of 6 different teams right now that I can tell you are absolutely terrible and have no business sniffing the playoffs, and they might be the final team in the NFC. So it's going to be a fight to the bottom, and I'm not surprised people aren't leading their podcast with the fight to the bottom, right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, even tonight we got the Super Tank Bowl, right? I mean, that seems kind of what it is. You got the Panthers, the Bears, the Giants, and the Cardinals. They're the bottom feeders. Everybody else is still playoff eligible. And you're right. No, I mean, the Rams, not very good. The Bucks, not very good. The Packers, definitely not very good. And then you got the Commandos. They're even still playoff eligible. These teams have no business even being there, and they're still all eligible.
The Commandos even tried to sell off their best defensive players, and they're still somehow playoff eligible, man. They can't even tank right over there in Washington. Imagine that, Jimmy, something in Washington not being done right. That never happens, does it?
Never heard that before.
All right, let's speak about something that does go well for us, our futures market watch. has been an exciting addition to the podcast this year. Williams has given us a lot of good advice. What do you got for us this week, Josh?
Okay, I might have a bonus one too after this, but let's go. I think the hate for this Miami Dolphins team has gone way too far. I know they've lost 3 games this year to good opponents, but all those games, none of them were at home. So I know we took a shot at Detroit to get the number 1 seed in the NFC last week. Let's go Miami to get the number 1 seed in the AFC at 5-1. And this is their next 3 games: Vegas, the Jets, and Washington. Are those offenses going to stay with the Dolphins after their bye? I don't think so. And then 4 out of their last 5 games are at home against the Titans, Jets, Cowboys. Skip a week, and then they end with the Bills. That Cowboys game is interesting because Dallas is coming off games against Seattle, Philly, and then at Buffalo. Then they have to go play at Miami. And then the one game that is tricky is at Baltimore, the second to last week of the season. But Baltimore, if you look at their schedule, they're coming off at Jacksonville, at San Fran on a Monday night before they play that Miami game. So they'll be on short rest, traveling on across the country to play this Miami team. And then it also could be a look ahead spot for Baltimore. The last week of the season, they play the Steelers, and they would want to knock them out of the playoff race if they could. I think this Miami defense is getting better and better. The last week, that was the first week they had Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey on the field at the same time. They went toe to toe with Kansas City. I know Kansas City was up 21-0 in that game, but it was really 14-14 when you talk about Kansas City's offense versus Miami's defense and Miami's offense versus Kansas City's defense. That fluke fumble recovery that Tyreek Hill went back like 5 yards and then fumbled, and then a lateral and 70. I mean, Miami hung right with Kansas City there. And I know the other factor in this is that Kansas City is going to have to lose 2 games. Well, they still have to play Philly. They still have to play Buffalo. They still have to play Cincinnati. And then they end the season at the Chargers, which we know they always play them tough. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a long shot. But the Dolphins, 5-1, there's too much speed on this team to just disregard. And none of those games that they've lost have come at home. I think they're going to be really tough to be at home this year. I think it's in play that they can get the 1 seed in the AFC.
So Jimmy Jam, real quick, there was a little bit of a fade the Chiefs dripping off of Williams' take there. What do you think about that?
Well, I am all in on those fighting San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers. So I like that a lot. I think it's going to be tough for them to lose those 2 and not have Miami, also lose a couple in there as well. But the Chiefs have not been the Chiefs, and Miami did stay with them. So, yeah, I'm all for it. Let's go. Let's go Chargers. Let's go. Well, they'll beat them. Yeah, they'll beat them.
Listen, I'll tell you something. If nothing else, for the Dolphins, man, Mike McDaniel, you are a gem. All right, your comments are fabulous. You're mic'd up on the field that we get a week later are always fabulous. Your glasses, your watch, your outfits. I mean, I'm all for it, Mike McDaniel. I hope for good things for the people of Miami, because it's got to be a real drag living in a place like Miami. It seems like a real stodgy place. Doesn't seem like anything cool happens down there. There's no beaches or anything. There's no real warm weather. It's got to be difficult for people down there in Miami. So I wish for great things for them. Speaking of somewhere not like Miami, how about Green Bay versus Pittsburgh? That's the first game that Mr. Williams has for us in NFL week number 10.
Yeah, you're going to love this one, Rod. I'm going to take Packers and Steelers first half under 19.5 points.
Oh.
Listen to this. Listen to these stats here. The Packers are one of the slowest teams pace-wise in the first half. They're also dead last in scoring in the first half, dead last in EPA in the first half. Now they have to go into Pittsburgh against this D, who just got Cam Hayward back last week, one of the best run stuffers in the league. I'm not sure if people are aware of this or not. When I say they're dead last in first half in scoring, I mean they are bad. They average 4.5 points per game in the first half. 4.5 points? 4.5 points in the first half. And the Steelers aren't much better. They're bottom 5 team in scoring in the first half. They average less than 7 points per game. The Packers D plays a top 6 rate of zone. The Steelers offense is 4th in adjusted yards per attempt versus man coverage, but they drop all the way down to 24th in that same category versus zone. Green Bay first half unders are 6-1-1 this year. Steelers first half unders are 5-3 this season. And we got some ref stats here. We got our boy Scotty, the under Novak in this one. He's
Yeah,
6-2. He's 6-2 to the under this season. The Pack are tied as the number one penalized team in the NFL. The other team, the Dallas Cowboys, of course. 53% of those penalties are on the offense. Novak is calling an above average 58% of his penalties on the offense this season. Green Bay ranks second overall in offensive holding. And when playing at home, the Steelers D is currently the number one unit in the NFL at generating offensive holding penalties on opposing offenses. This game is going to be ugly. Let's take advantage of it. First half under 19.5.
All right, I'm going to start here real quick by saying if anyone is a Mike Tomlin family relation, I apologize to you guys. I have nothing but mad respect for your relation, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I am banning the Steelers. I'm banning the Steelers, Williams. You can't pick them the rest of the year. The Steelers are atrocious. They are the worst watch on TV. They are murdering fantasy teams across the country. I wish the NFL could get rid of them right now. We are getting rid of them. You are no longer allowed to give us any Pittsburgh Steelers stats. You are no longer allowed to pick an under, an over, a win, a loss. The Steelers are banned from this show. That is how vomit-inducing I find the Steelers. Chris, as a former Pittsburgh resident, how do you feel about this take?
I do not disagree. The Steelers are about the worst thing to watch in the NFL right now. I mean, maybe. Oh no, the Giants are so bad that it's actually fun to watch. Steelers is just boring. All right, you have a quarterback who looks like Tommy DeVito for 3.5 quarters and all of a sudden turns into John Elway for one drive and somehow they pull out a win because their defense keeps them close. It's just painful to watch their offense. It's slow and stodgy. It doesn't move. I'm surprised they score any points at all, whether it's the first half or second half. But I'm with you. We got to get off the Steelers, Williams. We got to get off the Tomlin rah-rah spot for at least until next year. Let
Jimmy,
us
yeah, I
move
was gonna say
on.
let's go to Jimmy here for the final ruling. Jimmy, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to ban a team from the podcast?
Can we ban the Niners too, or is that just too fun?
I don't think we want to get rid of fun from the Niners just yet.
Yeah, I like it because the less we have to talk about the Steelers, the better until the playoffs come. See, if we don't mention the Steelers at all, let's just go with the gimmick. Even if they're in the Super Bowl, just don't mention them. Can't talk about them. No Steelers.
Oh, I like that. I like that little reverse jinx for our good Yinzers up there in the state of Pennsylvania. Let's move on. Speaking of ugly offense and a team that Chris was making fun of relating to Pittsburgh and Green Bay to, the New York Giants taking on his Dallas Cowboys. That is game number 2. We are coming at you with both barrels here on Balls and Brew Week 10, folks.
Tons of fun. I'll just say you guys are lucky that there's no more home dog rah-rah Tomlin spots left on the schedule. So I'll accept it, I suppose. But yeah, let's go. This game is ugly too. Let's take advantage of it. Let's make some money. Giants team total under 10.5. I don't want to lay 17.5. Never want to do that. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Wait, excuse me. It doesn't take Josh Dobbs to figure out that the Cowboys D is salivating getting a chance to play Mr. Goodfella himself, Tommy DeVito. I mean, how in the world are the Giants going to move the ball here, guys? Maybe one early field goal in the first half, then a garbage touchdown in the fourth. We still cover in that scenario. Whereas if we take Dallas minus 17.5 and it's the Cowboys 27-3 late, if the G-men get a late backdoor cover, we're going to be kicking ourselves. So first time these teams met with Danny Dimes under center, I may remind you, there were some sharps on the Giants getting points in that game. I couldn't figure that one out. I was on the other side. That final in New York was 40-0, boys. Yeah, that's the reasoning here behind just taking the Giants team total under 10.5. Yeah.
Yeah, we get this one. We get this one. And I'm just now looking at your final pick, and I had another thought here. All right. And Jimmy, if this ends up being something that we can't run, you can go ahead and cut it out right here, then no one will ever hear it. But I think this is a funny joke. All right. I remember being on the fraternity row streets of Muncie back in my day, and there were some frat boys that would run around with a t-shirt, and on the back of it there was a 3-word phrase that gentlemen were proud to sport on the back of their t-shirt, and it said, "Go ugly early." And that's what Williams is doing this week. He's told us about 2 ugly games already, and we got one more ugly game involving a team that I said is a huge, giant turd. I called this team a literal turd weeks ago, the Denver Broncos, versus a team that's playing like a turd right now, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, let's go. I'm taking Broncos plus 7.5, minus 115 on MGM. This is down to plus 7 on DK and FanDuel, so make sure you get the hook there. Too much respect for this Bills team, man. I know Josh Allen's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, but the rest of the team is just meh. I mean, I don't get it. Denver's coming off a bye here. They're getting some pieces back on defense. And the Broncos D, the last 3 weeks, I know they were atrocious the first 5 weeks. The last 3 weeks, they've allowed less than 20 points in each game. 61% of the handle is on Denver here to begin with. 86% of the money is on Denver. And Bill Vinovich and his crew are calling this game since 2016. He's 71-42-3 to the under. He was 9-6-1 to the under last season. That helps us whenever we take a dog. We like less points being scored. This Bills team is just overrated. I don't get it. I think the Broncos are on the upward trajectory. Monday night, getting 7.5. Let's go Denver.
The Broncos are on an upward trajectory. I did not think that we would get to a point where we were saying that, but Mr. Williams is not wrong. I mean, the Broncos have an outside shot at the last seed in the AFC. The AFC is not nearly as wide as the NFC, but there's still some teams that if they go on a bit of a winning streak can sneak in there. The Broncos are one of them. It's absolutely crazy. The Bills faltering is what's helping some of those teams be able to sneak up into there. We will cover all of that stuff moving forward in the NFL when Mr. Williams joins us last week. A rousing episode so far. We touched on a little baseball at the beginning. We argued about college football. We had some arguments about pro football, but don't leave anywhere. Jimmy Jamriska is going to run us through the NBA fast break. Before we leave, Mr. Williams, we say goodbye to you until next week.
Welcome to the Fast Break, the fastest 15 minutes in the NBA. I'm Jimmy, Rod, and Chris are here, and it's been a couple weeks now in the NBA season. This week, we've had some huge stories, and I'm going to start off with my story of the week, which is I was able to see Wemby in person when the Pacers faced the Spurs, and I came away with a lot of thoughts on that game. None really involving Victor Wembanyama, though. He did fine. He made one very good defensive play where he just took the ball off the backboard and said, "No, it's mine." Gentlemen, the Pacers are good and deep. And if you hit 50% of your threes, you score 152 points. I love the Pacers, guys.
Yeah, we said the Pacers were going to be frisky this year. I would say just a word of caution here that, like, there's always a team that blazes out of the gates and then stumbles a tad bit. The Pacers themselves even did it a little bit last year, so let's hope that we can maintain that. But you're absolutely right. This team is scoring a bunch of points. That works well in the regular season. I'm going to be interested to see what their defense shapes into before I want to determine what kind of a contender they are. But the Pacers are definitely going to have a shot at playing games in the second part of the season, meaning the postseason, and they didn't have that last year. So that's a success.
Chris, one thing I really like to see is Obi Toppin getting a chance. He really didn't fit in New York. Tom Thibodeau really didn't like him at all. He had a solid game, and he's had a pretty good run now as a starter in Indiana. And then also a couple other things. Tyrese Halliburton played so well they didn't need to play him very much. He had 23 points, very quiet, hardly ever played. But, I mean, you go all the way down. If Jarris Walker is your 12th man, you're doing pretty good as a rookie there.
Yeah, we got a real deep team in Indiana, which is nice. I also think that the pace that the Pacers are playing at, I think they're top 5 in the NBA right now, and pace of play really helps guys like Obi Toppin. We're in New York, it's a half-court sludge fest, all right, with Tom Thibodeau teams. And he's running the court. This is a type of offense that he is much better in. And you're right about Halliburton. He gets these numbers quietly. He's not standing out in the game. Kind of reminds me how John Stockton used to play. You all of a sudden turn around, he's got 20-plus points, double-digit assists, some rebounds, some steals. I mean, the guy just is filling it up, and it's a
Le-
quiet fill up too.
He's leading the league in assists right now.
So another couple things I noticed when I was at the game here is the Wembanyama fans are out in full effect. I never knew there was that many Spurs fans in Central Indiana. We had alternate jerseys. We had the home jerseys. Not much. You know what? Actually, we didn't have very many of the black jerseys. We had the away white jerseys, and we had a lot of alternate jerseys as well. The man is huge. He does stand out. His movement is really good as well. But remember, he's still young. It's only, the first couple weeks, but he had his breakout game the night before. And that's what I was telling the kids is like, the Suns game was the night before. They were pretty, or no, the Raptors game, I think, was the night before, actually. They were pretty tired. So I think we caught them at a good time as well. But I really enjoyed that. Chris, question for you. What was your story of the week?
This is a story I wanted to bring up just because of how hot Rod was during his preseason takes on this team, and I'm going to bring up the Dallas Mavericks. All right, now you may not hear them in the hierarchy this week like you did last week, but let's talk about the Mavericks and let's talk about a stat that I was big on really last year. I'm a Kings fan. We're the unofficial official Sacramento Kings podcast of the Midwest. And Darren Fox was a fantastic clutch player last year, best in the league. This year it's turned out to be the Mavericks and Luka. All right. Let me just give you a little bit of stats. All right. Here, the first 5 years of Doncic's career, the Mavericks had a 103-110 record in games that were decided in the clutch. So that's within 5 points in the final 5 minutes, with a 26-29 record last year. All right. They're already 6-0 in those types of games this year, with Doncic shooting 44% from deep in these clutch performances, where the previous 5 years he was shooting 22% from deep. Talking about clutch players, Luka's a clutch player this year. That's what Dallas needs.
Rod, I love the fact that Chris comes with the stats. Like, I really do appreciate that, Chris, and I thank you. Now I'm going to destroy you on one thing. Are you worried, Rod, that they are 6-0 in those clutch games? They have 6 wins for the season, which means every single game they've been very close to losing. Are we concerned about that at all, Rod?
Yeah, I tend to believe that the Mavericks are still a mirage. I do leave open the fact that my blind hatred towards one particular player on their roster may be coloring my overall thoughts here. I do worry about the organization, right? I brought up the stuff about some longtime employees getting moved on and let go, and some of the things that Mark Cuban has been up to. I tend to still worry about that, but there's no denying the talent of Luka Doncic on the court. I mean, there's absolutely no denying that. He seems to be in shape right now, which is something we've questioned at the beginning of the year with Luka, before the beginning of the years in past with Luka. So I think that might be speaking to some of his hot start here, because he actually came in shape. And I just want to make one thing clear here real quick, Jimmy, because Chris brought up the Kings. I am actually not part of your guys' Kings bandwagon anymore. If you remember, I stepped off and predicted doom and gloom for the Kings this year. And so far, looks like I may be onto something.
You might be, and we need to figure out this Dwight Powell hatred that you have with the Mavericks. So we'll look at that. But Rod, what is your story of the week?
I too want to go to just something that we talked about in the preseason, because we like to just stay insular on this podcast and make fun of one another. We also like to pat ourselves on the back. I am going to shout out how wonderful my fifth pick in our wins draft was. Okay, that means there were numerous teams taken before we got all the way back to the Philadelphia 76ers, who have one loss on the year. They lost opening night and have not lost since then. And they look like a team we all envisioned the 76ers to be over these past years. I love me some Doc Rivers. He's an NBA statesman. He's had a lot of great things to say about some social issues over the years, but his stuff on the court might not be good anymore. So we have Nick Nurse in. The Sixers are running. Tyrese Maxey is scoring. We have a little bit of movement on offense. The Sixers look good, and I am excited that I have them as my fifth pick in our wins draft, and they look like one of the best teams in the East, Jimmy.
You better be excited because they have the most wins of any team that you picked in the wins draft, Rod. And if they did not have 6 wins, you might be tied with Chris. Rod, you have 38 wins total for the season. Chris King has 37 wins for the season. And Jimbo has 42 wins for the season. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Chris King, Nick Nurse, terrific NBA coach. How excited are the Sixers to have him? And how bummed maybe a team a little up north in Milwaukee bummed that they didn't get him?
I mean, I think that Milwaukee is definitely bummed. Milwaukee has some issues up there right now. All right. You have Lopez and Antetokounmpo, two of the best rim protectors in the league, and they are averaging 80% shooting at the rim. That's something horrible that they are doing on defense that I hope they fix soon. Um, yeah, if you're a Sixers fan, you got to be happy, right? You got rid of cancers. You don't have Harden there anymore. You got Maxi coming on strong, being almost the leader of that team over Embiid right now. But like, let me just tell you, you got to be happy.
Yeah, and you still have some things to do. You have some picks to play with. You have some expiring contracts to play with as well. So you might be able to get somebody else in there, Rod.
Yeah, I really do. You hear a lot about that, and that's unfortunate sometimes that the overall storyline through the NBA is what trade is still yet to come and not as much about the basketball that's on the court. But the Sixers definitely have some movable contracts. They have some picks. They have some room underneath the salary cap. You know, you'd like to show Joel Embiid that you're willing to continue to move this thing forward. So it's definitely a possibility. But I could also see him standing pat. I mean, why mess with it? Kelly Oubre, right? Who would have thought minimum signing Kelly Oubre on his 6th team in like 4 years, and he's balling out for him. So if I'm Philly right now, I don't mess with much, but you're definitely onto something that they have the capability to move if they need to.
All right, so we're going to go on. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. You hear the music. It's your Rod Damnation of the week.
We have to do something about this situation. The momentum is dying. I don't understand no more distractions, but I do believe we should all follow one path in life. Hubris and ego and pride. Sorry, all that was a complete lie. I want to speak to one particular crowd here. I am a podcaster. I would like for folks to listen to my show, so I understand the need sometimes to say things, to just say it and sound a little different and maybe seem entertaining. But anybody out there who's a skeptic of the in-season tournament, can you just calm down for a second? Because the majority of arguments I hear out of all of these skeptics about what is this in-season tournament? This is absolutely nothing. This means nothing. What are they playing for? It's just a trophy that's made up. Hey, newsflash. The whole entire eco structure of professional sports is all made up. None of it means anything. It's just a trophy that we created and said means something. And because it's been played for so many years and it's been passed down, it becomes something. Of course, the first year that they launch a trophy and a new thing isn't going to mean anything to anybody. Who in the world is saying, wow, that time that they're going to win the in-season trophy? Nobody can say that. It hasn't happened before. Give them the space to let it become something. Who knows what it'll be 10 to 15 years from now if it sticks around. It'll have its history then. We might see some good games. We might see some surprising things, and it'll start to be something people like. But to just trash it right now because it doesn't mean anything is kind of ridiculous in my book, because professional sports really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
Chris, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say I'm kind of with Rod. The people are overreacting to this. I think this is a good thing. I do think that they are trying to squeeze it in too quick of a time, spread it out a little bit more over the season, because a lot of these games in the first couple rounds don't actually count towards the regular season. The only game that does count towards your regular season record is a championship game. But it's not just a trophy, all right?
Wait a minute. You're completely wrong on all of that. The only game that doesn't count is the championship game. All of the other games count as regular season games. The semifinal games actually right now aren't even reflected in the schedule because we don't know yet who they will play, right? So if you look at a team's schedule, they only actually have 80 games right now, and then the other two get added in with the quarterfinal and semifinal games. The championship game actually doesn't mean anything.
Oh, hey, I'm keeping on brand. I don't know stuff, Rod.
Well, no, but but you love the NBA. You follow the NBA very closely. You do. and you were confused about it. So that's why I kind of like going the opposite way. I think we should really focus in, instead of having a Tuesday and a Friday for 3 weeks, do it all in the same week, maybe 2-week time frame. All the games are your in-season tournament. Yes, that's difficult to do, but let's just focus in, because why is March Madness great? Because everyone knows what's happening when it's happening. And then you go to Vegas. I think Vegas is going to be fantastic, just for the record, Rod.
Well, you're absolutely right, but here's what I think you got to keep in mind, Jimmy. We got NBA expansion ahead of us, right? In about 2 years. We're going to get a team in Vegas and we're going to get another team up in Seattle, okay? The talent across the league right now speaks to it. We talk about how deep each conference is, expansion draft, it's going to be 2 more teams. And then at that point, Jimmy, we have 32. And guess what 32 teams means? That's a healthy, easy to do bracket. So I think you're absolutely on to something right there, Jimmy. We could see a single elimination type tournament with 32 teams down to 16, down to 8 to 4, and then a championship game. And then that's exactly what you're talking about, right? We don't have to say, well, tonight they're championship games because look at this atrocious court we're making them play on, right? That's the only way we know that something's going on right now. But I think in the future, after expansion, when it's got some history to then speak about too, that's when we're going to be on to something.
I think in 10 to 15 years, like you were saying, Rod, too, it's not going to be this confusing for people. They're going to get the group stage that we're in now. I don't think we'll see a tournament style bracket like March Madness. They're going to try to stick with this European soccer style group stage, but with 32 teams, then you got all groups of 4. You don't have this random group of 5. I think that makes it go a little bit smoother. You also got to remember that this is also guys get a healthy bump in pay. Maybe not your top tier guys, but these guys on the bench are getting an extra $500,000 if their team wins this championship.
Well, the
That's
new
something we're
stars
paying.
in the new stars and scrubs era of the NBA, right? You're only going to have like 3-4 guys on a team getting paid. So yeah, the rest of the guys are all going to be about that $1 million or $500,000 for second place and so on down.
Yeah, they're going to have to figure out a couple other things maybe to incentivize people as well. But what doesn't incentivize people is random lists. What does incentivize people is the King's Hardwood Hierarchy.
All right, I already teased it a little bit. We already know the Mavs kind of dropped out of this hierarchy. We kind of thought they wouldn't last too long. They're still playing well. Let's not get it twisted. But King, Denver Nuggets. They're 8-1 right now. They haven't had the championship hangover yet. I'm giving them the King spot now, even though Jamal Murray is technically hurt now and sidelined. It hasn't affected them yet. They're still the Kings. For the Queen, I'm sticking with the Boston Celtics. I know they've lost a couple games, but that's still, to me, one of the strongest teams in the East. They're still playing. They're still a tough out. I know the Timberwolves beat them pretty good, held them. Of course, the Timberwolves defense held them to like 26 points their average. But I'm still putting the Celtics up top.
I thought we were getting Philly here. I got to say, Jimmy, I thought we were getting Philly here, especially since Philly just beat the Celtics the other night.
I really thought about it, but I'm putting Philly at the Prince. They're the new guy in. I think it's still a little bit early. They are playing better through subtraction. I have high hopes for them. I think they're the number 2 or 3 seed in the East for sure. But right now, I got them right behind Boston.
That's a pretty tough top 3 there with the Nuggets, the Celtics, and the Sixers. That Celtics and Timberwolves game was fantastic.
Yeah, it
was terrific, and it made me feel so much better that Rudy Gobert is not on my fantasy basketball team anymore. I don't have to care about him. I don't have to fret over him. But the Timberwolves are playing very well, and I thought we might have seen someone jump up in there from Minnesota, but apparently not yet. Chris isn't convinced yet.
Well, I think it speaks to what we talked about in the Western Conference a little bit too, right? That we had the Nuggets up at the top and then a whole bunch of mishmash at who was going to show themselves. And right now we haven't had anybody really show themselves. And that's why we got the second and third team in the hierarchy coming out of the East.
Speaking of no one showing themselves, who's your jester, Chris?
I mean, we may have to make a special designation for this team too, because it's still the Grizzlies. I'm sorry, but they have
Well, see, I'm
not
not so
done.
sure. We don't have to make a designation yet because I think, again, there's a team over here that plays in Chocolate City that's like, hold my beer. The Washington Wizards could easily be the jester right now.
They've won twice as many games as Memphis right now. All right.
That's true.
You're not wrong. That's a valid point. Yeah, the Grizzlies, they're missing scoring. I wonder who could do that for them in about 17 more games now, I think.
Yeah, I know.
They're also missing Steven Adams, though. I mean, let's not sleep on
Yeah,
Steven Adams. He's
yeah.
really more of like he doesn't show up in the stat book kind of guy, but he's real important to that team.
Yeah, these Grizzlies look pretty toothless right now.
So before we leave, I just want to say when the NFL games come on, NFL Red Zone, you look and you always pick, oh, that game looked good. The NBA right now is that exact same way where every single matchup really has some intrigue unless the Wizards and Grizzlies are playing. Other than that, legitimately, everything has some intrigue. A new young star, a team finally gelling, growing up. I think it's a great time to be a fan, Rod.
The Hornets and the Rockets are even
Yeah.
frisky, right? And then, like
The
you said,
Rockets are good.
the Spurs are not, fabulous every night, but Wembanyama is definitely must see, right? We got Portland, maybe isn't that great to watch up there, but they at least, like you said, got a lot of young players that you want to check out and see what they're doing. So I totally League Pass. Get after us. I know you're not hurting for sponsorships out there, but we will gladly be sponsored by NBA League Pass because I love flipping around every night.
Let me ask you this, Jimmy. You brought up the red zone, which is my favorite way to watch football on Sunday. All right. They get you right
Sure.
to the action when it's going on. I know it's a little bit easier in football, but with the NBA, we know we have these blackout issues, market issues in the NBA. Are they able to get something? We know Saturday's a big NBA night. We know Friday's usually a big NBA night. Can they get something together on NBA TV where they do a flash around through all the different games that are going on? So you have maybe 6 hours from 6:30 to midnight or 12:30 so you can get some of those West Coast games. Do you do something like that for the NBA to get more people in watching?
Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and step in for Jimmy here, even though you asked him. And Chris, I will give this to you offline. But since we are an NBA podcast, you should probably have access to the NBA League Pass as well. And there's actually a thing you can click on that NBA TV does that they call the fast break. And then Jared Greenberg sits in a studio and he throws you around to a bunch of different games, right? They haven't quite gotten down the way to do it as seamless as the NFL, but he'll throw you to a game. They'll watch it for a little while. He'll update you on a score. You'll try to see one finish. So they have a way where you can do it. So you'll be able to see it and you can report back to all the listeners next week.
You have to have the league pass to be able to see that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the one thing the NFL does differently. You don't need the NFL season pass to be able to get the red zone.
Yep, you're right about that. But you can get NBA TV without getting NBA League Pass, but then just having NBA TV can't get the fast break thing for you.
And you can get a lot more quality content on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network, including the Yeah We Know podcast with the three of us. We talk about wrestling. We've got a huge pay-per-view, War Games Survivor Series coming up next week. We're going to, I think, maybe have a special Morgan You Know coming up eventually in life. The year goes by quickly, doesn't it, Rod?
It sure does, but no, we have a draft, Jimmy, and we have a draft that's going to be. We get the ladies sometimes will say to us, "Hey, where's an episode for us? We maybe don't follow sports as closely as all you guys. We're not into wrestling like all you guys. Where's an episode for us? We have an episode that is for all ages. All right, Jimmy, your folks, if they listen to the pod every once in a while, like my mom does, they're going to be into this episode. Chris, his grandchildren and great grandchildren are going to be into this episode, right? Everybody's going to love this episode because we're going to be drafting foods that all of us have eaten at numerous times in our life. It is a snack draft. I'm not going to give any more away than that, but it is a snack draft. We are combining the rules right now. Jimmy and I are going back and forth. It is a contentious argument between Jimmy and I right now. What are going to be the categories, the rules, the participants, all of that stuff is in the works. And another special Jimmy doesn't even know about on the Morgan You Know pop culture arm is, I believe, there has been a message relayed up to the great state of Wisconsin, and there is talk that a Survivor podcast may be dropping for the people. All right. We do a little Survivor talk around here every once in a while. We're about halfway through season 45 of Survivor. Wu-Tang is itching to talk Survivor. And if we can get schedules together, we will have our old friend, Matthew Kozerski, on talking about Survivor.
Speaking about the munchies, it's about time to go. Chris King, take us home.
Goodbye, Internet.